right, my friends, let's knock out the safety module. I have two objectives on this module. One is the particulars on the SIRT training pistol and best safe practices in a classroom and on the range setting. And secondly, some effective ways of introducing and integrating the safety just throughout the whole class curriculum, throughout your whole day. So let's jump into the first module, the first element of that module, the first goal of particularities with the SIRT. Okay. One reason the SIRT, I think, really got adoption through the NRA culture and curriculum and what have you, is because right away, for whatever reason, this pistol tended to be treated with the respect and dignity of a live fire gun. We don't say real gun just because the SIRT's real. I mean, the pro model is the same weight, the heft, and all the utility. The implication would be fake gun. Maybe that's my own ego, but point being, is we treat it like a live fire gun, one that can go boom. But we do intellectualize that it can't. So when you hand these out, we'll talk about logistics and how people get their hands on these SIRT. But when the SIRT pistol, as you can see, first comes out, and whether it's the first drill at a table or they're issued to them, have a protocol in place where it is clearly explained to them before the student is in a position to fail and screw up. Say, look, this pistol, all right, treat it as a live fire pistol. Granted, they may not know the rules yet or anything, but and you're going to cover that, but tell them expressly, do not point this at anyone. Do not pull the trigger and point it at anyone. Don't scare them to death, but you know, have that first introduction be very clear that there's no monkeying around with this. This isn't your kid's Nerf gun where you shoot each other with it and have that kind of horseplay. It sets the stage correct, so they're going to treat it with that dignity, that respect, and then start that glide path of the three fundamental safety rules. That's this first block. If you do have a protocol where you have enough SIRTs for everyone to have a SIRT, all right when they come in, that's one option. Then right on your sign-in procedure is a good time to do that. I'll talk a little bit on logistics of tracking it in the next block. But that's a good time to train up your person doing the sign-in, whether it's your spouse or friend or you do it yourself. Presumably, hopefully you have someone help you on that. then they're trained up to explain that. Just as I noted that, look, treat this as a live fire pistol. I suggest you have holsters. If you keep it holstered, do so. The more common practice is to use SIRTs as a station where there's a station of 4, 8, or up to 20. Where people rotate in. It's a little bit more scalable in case you don't know how many people are going to show up and what have you. If it's a station, then you explain that to them before they first get their mitts on the gun. Bingo. Now, let's change gears to our second objective, which is explaining the three fundamental safety rules. Of course, there's a lot of ways of doing that. What we have found to be a preferred method of explaining the three fundamental safety rules is to look at the pistol itself and use the pistol as the mnemonic, the pistol as the physical thing of where they earmark the areas to remember the rules. So I start with, a lot of times I start with the third rule, and I go with, because it goes from grip, trigger, to muzzle, and then I jump into the shooting rules of view where your target was behind it. But let's look at the third rule, the grip. All right, anything special about the rounds? Like, right now, I'm going to talk to you as if I would talk to a class. So I'm going to flip my switch a little bit. So I'm going to go from talking to an instructor to as if I'm talking within a class. So I'll say, all right, does anyone in here have any, as far as these safety rules, any thoughts around loading the pistol? Anyone want to jump on that and think of a safety rule around the grip portion? And someone might have an answer at that point. I want to say, well, good. You load when it's ready to use. Now, use means a few different things. If you're hunting, you don't just immediately load a .308 right when you see the buck, right? It's loaded before and because it's ready to use. If you go to the other classes after this, as far as home and defense and defense outside the home, you're ready to use when it's holstered and you carry. So it's not ready to shoot if you load it when it's ready to use. Now, class, here's the next two ones that are rules that are big. They're all big, but let's put special attention on the next one. Let's walk from the area where we load the gun and go to the trigger. Anything that is particular on the trigger? Anyone want to take a stab at that? And generally, usually someone will have some idea. keep your finger off the trigger. That's perfect, John. That's perfect. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. At this point, I will generally caution the class that they're going to be handling the certs a lot, and this is tricky. I want them to feel in a good glide path, to be comfortable, and I don't want to set them up to failure by telling them they may violate these rules, but I want to caution them that even though I tell them these 3 rules, they're probably going to violate them and they're going to get called out. Okay, so you don't want to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. So everyone's going to break these rules today, But the other side too, you're going to say, look, if history says a lot of people break these, it's bad. I'm going to gently remind you. All right, so have a good attitude to remedy it. Okay, that's boom. That's just the learning point. So now back to the class. Good, that's good, John. So keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Now we walk from the trigger all the way to the muzzle, right? The little round hole on the front. Does anyone in the class can think of something about anything unique about the muzzle, about the barrel? Someone will answer. That's right. That's right. Do not point the gun at anything you are not willing to destroy. All right? So nothing. So here's the deal. Today during the class, you're going to keep your finger off the trigger, and we're not going to point the cert at anything we're not willing to destroy. If you make a mistake, if you make a mistake during this classroom, you'll be reminded, gently but firmly, all right? And there's no excuse to violate this. If someone says, he walked in front of me or something, no, you are strictly liable for these safety rules. So please give them huge respect and understand the root cause of maybe why you had your finger on the trigger when you shouldn't or something, and remedy it. And we can go from there, all right? I'll throw one more shooting rule in here. Yeah, here are the shooting rules for the NRA we can go over. But another rule is as far as when you're shooting, not just gun handling, beware of your target and what's behind it. You may get called out, hey, what are the safety rules around a gun? Just walk yourself along a gun from where it's loaded to the trigger to the muzzle, and then a shooting rule of what's the target, what's behind it. So you can just walk right along, and you will be a champion at remembering those rules in no time. Boom. So that is just a quick way to get that safety block in, okay, on explaining that. The big thing with the cert, like I noted before, is that they can handle the pistol all day. And by the end of that day, they will, with the correct coaching, when you catch them, okay, and you can even empower other students to call it out. Say, look, if anyone else sees a violation, all right, gently remind them. Don't make it, I caught you, a type of game. But firmly say, is your fingers on the trigger there? Like, yeah, thanks, Judy. Thanks, thanks. Build that kind of culture so it's people can say something, they feel empowered to say something because they're going to have to say something when they're out there on the range and they see it, right? So you're teaching someone how to call it out and also teaching them how to call it out so it's most receptive to the violator, the person violating that rule. All right, super. Okay, well, let's follow this on with logistics because logistics are going to be intertwined with safety, and let's keep rolling down this curriculum.